Come back. He also does this when he's coming back over. He's like, he does the whole thing. He does this, which locks the guy down to the floor, which makes it hard for him to come up. And then from there, it's easy for me because I have this control of your leg. Yeah. We can just train in front of the camera for 45 minutes. As soon as I want to see it, I'm going to talk to a little bit. Yo!
Alright.
I'm good, man. Right, okay, let's start. I'm not sure if Pete's coming today, right? So, we're going to go over today. We're going to go over I was going to go over whole of John Satava's his whole run, but there's one match in particular, his opening match, which is really, really interesting. So we're just mainly going to go over that and just that whole match, and then some other extra little bits as well. Okay, depends how much time we go through. Okay, so let's start with the start of this match. Okay, there's a lot of things that happen. It's only a 4-minute match, but there's a lot of things happen just in this 4-minute match itself. Okay, so basically, so this was John Satava's run at ADCC. This is his opening match against Stanley Rosa. John Satava won this year. This one we're watching, he won the whole trials, and he wasn't doing crazy amount of stuff, which is why it's kind of interesting. He's one of Marcelo Garcia's black belts, so he's very good at what Marcelo Garcia is good at. He's one of the main students from Marcelo Garcia's that is very, very similar to him. Uses same guards, same chokes, very similar to Marcelo, a modern kind of Marcelo. And this is his match, his opening match versus Stanley Rosa. And Stanley Rosa is a very good guy from Renzo Gracie, Brooklyn, who later on, the next trials he did, he went up a weight class and he got a silver medal at the trials. So it's not just an opening match against someone random, it's an opening match that's against someone extremely good. And John Satava shows a very good depth of game here, just in general, okay? And the reason why I want to stick to this match is he basically shows nearly everything he does in his other matches just in this match itself, because Stanley Rosa was one of the people that engaged with him the whole match, okay? There is points in here when Stanley Rosa shows tiny points where he could have counterattacked, but for the most part, is a good showing of John Satava letting his game play out exactly how I think John Satava would want his game to play out. Okay, so you can see my screen now. Okay, cool, perfect. All right, so the first 30 seconds, a lot happens. Okay, so we're just going to show the first 30 seconds, and then we'll go over everything that happens. Okay, so as soon as the match starts, let's turn the volume off. Okay, so as soon as the match starts, John Satava's immediately looking for hand grips, hand fighting grips here. So he's getting double grips on the hands. As soon as he gets double grips on the hands, it's very, very hard now. Well, not very hard, but John Satava allows himself to get inside position to go shoot for a single. So as he gets to the top of the hand grips, he opens them up, goes for a single, and sits down immediately to shin on shin. He realizes he's not going to probably get the single, so immediately sits down and goes shin to shin, which is the position we were showing a lot of. Okay, he knocks him over with his free foot here. So instead of the shin to shin hook knocking over, he's basically doing a sumigashi or an off balancing over his head with his inside leg here. Okay. Sorry, the screen's a bit blurry, but basically in this position, I'm going to go back a bit. Show the whole thing again. As he knocks him over, Stanley Rosa follows him well. So he follows the hooks, doesn't get single leg X very well, knocks him over, then fights for the top grips, and then immediately gets to goes to single leg, and then straight to X guard straight away. So a lot happens just in that few seconds. And now from this position, Stanley Rosa is getting knocked over his shoulder onto this arm, which allows him to, which only gives him one bit of base here. Jonathan Satava's pushing him in the direction of that arm. He has no way to base out with his legs, and his other arm is also getting framed off on this side by John Satava, so he can also not base. So as he gets rolled over, he has no support base. Now John Satava's got one of his legs, a hip grip, and his head is starting to work to get higher than Stanley Rosa's, which is a very important thing when we're sweeping. We want our head to begin to get higher than our opponents. Okay. So in this scenario, he starts coming up, his head gets higher, Stanley gives up, and we get to this top smash. Okay. So a lot happens just in that first sequence. There's a lot of Stanley Rosa following and a lot of John Satava re-countering. There's just a lot going on in that tiny sequence of sweeping. Okay, so I want to go over that. So let me play it out all in one big go again for you, and then we'll just go over it point by point. Okay. So hand fight, single leg, shin to shin, knocks him over, follows him well, comes to pushes him over shin to shin. Okay. There's loads and loads. The reason why this is a good sequence is John Satava also gets ready if Stanley Rosa decided to move to another different kind of if he decided to react differently. Okay. For instance, in this sequence earlier, let me just go over it here quickly. So during this sequence where he knocks him over, one interesting thing here is John Satava's working to collect this leg, but he's already Xing Stanley Rosa's leg here. So it's hard for Stanley Rosa to get a good base on the ground. If he should have stood on his foot here, it'd be very easy for John Satava to extend his legs out and start working to get X guards and stuff, okay? It's hard for him to stay on his leg here. And now look, he switches to upper body grips. So if Stanley Rosa decided to go to his knees now, it would also be easy for John Satava to start working just traditional butterfly sweeps and sweep in general. He could even have swept him here, but Stanley Rosa pushes back in his direction and bases his foot on the ground. Okay, he bases his foot on the ground. John Satava follows him with his leg, kicks him over, and goes back to single leg X. Okay, well, goes straight to X. In fact, sorry. So look, a lot of stuff's happening, and then he does an overhead sweep. Okay, so just in that short few seconds, they've all reacted in different ways, and John Satava's put his body in different situations where he can stop all this from happening. Okay, so let's just stop that there. So he finishes in squashed half. Okay, we'll go over that in a bit. Let's just go over that whole sequence and those bits first. Okay, let me show here. Okay, so first things first. Okay, generally I've just got up to just the wrestling portion, okay? So, when I'm here wrestling with Will in a standing position, and if I'm in guard in general as well, exactly like we were talking about before with leg positioning, when I'm going for leg locks or just good sweeps, I want my legs in the inside position, okay? It's super similar to that in wrestling as well. I usually want to be the person dominating the inside control, okay? From outside control, this is a good way to think about it. Inside control allows me to get underneath the person and move him how I want, do different stuff. If I have outside control in different positions, it's easier for me to flank my opponent, okay? And what I mean by flank my opponent is, if I have outside control, it's easier, since I have outside control here, it's easier for me to go around my opponent, okay? You can also do that with inside position, so we're usually hunting for inside position, but say we get into a situation where he's forced me to start working from outside position, that's where I work to flank and do different stuff like this, okay? So, just for the sake of inside control now, okay, so I can get to my single leg and then go to my shin to shin like John Stava did. What he does is a very, very simple move, which is he gets double control over the top of the wrist, okay? There's a lot of different things I can do from here. I can begin to arm drag, okay? But from here, he just uses his hands here to turn, stand these arms out to the side, so he gives himself enough space now to immediately go in and shoot for the single like this, okay? Because of how bent over Stanley Rosa was in this position, it was hard for him to get a good grip. He was only able to get a short, kind of shallow scoop grip. If I want to get a good single, I need to be really, really close in and completely control his leg like this. What happened with Jonathan is he couldn't get a good tight grip, and he felt like he was losing it, so he immediately got a shallower grip. You know? So he got a shallower grip like this. Just have a little scoop grip behind his leg. Now he realizes he's probably going to lose it, so he just falls to the floor and gets shin to shin. Let me show you everything down here. So he shot, realized he was too far out to get a good single. You see there's so much space here, so he just sat to shin, and he has shin to shin control here, okay? Now he's worked his way, instead of him having to work from far out, playing guard, instead of him having to work from far out and slowly work his way to get in, he worked his way from standing to get a good position for his bottom leg, okay? Another way of creating dilemmas, because now Stanley's given up the position to inside, so it's easy for him to go to shin now, where if he didn't, he would have got single leg, okay? And it's a good way of him working between attacking the upper body with his, and then attacking the lower body, okay? So from here, he works to get his single leg, rolls to the side, okay? But he also, there's not a lot of space here, but he works to go for his single leg, but he's also using this secondary leg here to kick him over in a sumigashi way. He uses a similar thing like this when he actually gets a sleeve X later, okay? But basically he's here, he's falling to his side, and he's kicking like this, okay? Stanley Rosa follows him, okay? And what he does is he gets an X on the far leg like this, okay? He gets an X on the far leg. Now if Stanley, I'm calling Will Stanley now. If Will tries to base out now, it's harder because I can extend my leg. You see, I can always extend my leg and I have complete control here. It's like I call this low X, okay? Like we were showing last week with the leg entries, I could do a leg entry here by lifting his leg up and shooting my legs through and going to X. It's a little harder though. The reason I do it is because my legs are really long. It's hard for me to get an X sometimes, but that is an option, okay? It's the same thing. If I wanted to hit a sweep, and Will was standing up, okay? So this is my traditional X with one leg in behind his knee, my other leg in the pocket of his hips, and I can off balance like this. If I wanted to get him to his knee, force him to his knee, I can also go to this low X position, where my leg that's on the hip goes to his foot, chops him out, and now I bring him to his knee. Okay, so now he's more on his knee like this. You see how I chopped him out and he's on his knee? From here, now it's easy for us to gain head height and start sweeping. So I keep my ankle locked, come up onto my elbow, come onto my arm. Now my head is starting to beat Will's. And it's easy for me to take my legs out and start sweeping and coming on top, which is similar to what John Satava does, okay? But he carries on the sequence there, okay? So he, because he wasn't able to push Stanley Rosa away, he moves back to single leg X. And the single leg X sequence he does is a very useful way to use single leg X in general. Okay, so when he was trying to get good control of him here, so there's a lot of maneuvers we can do to turn our man around in single leg X, or actually Grammy, however you want to call it, okay? There's a lot of different ways I can control him. So just in a control position in general, my foot's on his hip, my knees on my foot, and my free leg is behind his far butt, okay? What we were going over last week, okay? So I can move him around by turning my knees, so I can do stuff like turning my knees out to this direction to knock him over. I can also turn my knees to this direction to start exposing his heel, okay? Another way I can move him to start moving to X guard, because whenever I'm switching my legs to X guard, okay, like this, there's always openings for him to do something, okay? So when we're switching to X guard, we usually want him to worry about something, okay? Because otherwise he'll immediately start working to break our grips. For instance, the traditional way an X guard change is shown sometimes is if I was rolling with Will and Will peeled my top foot, okay? Okay, this is very good for Will to do, just peeling my top foot off. It's very hard for me to keep good control now. Some people show when the guy strips the foot to just go to X guard, okay? Which is fine. But a good opponent, if you let them strip their leg, will immediately backstep. There's no him waiting for me to control his second leg. If he strips my leg here and backsteps, look, I haven't got time to extend my legs and start going to X guard. He's already passed, okay? So usually I want to off balance him before I go to X guard. So I could do it in the last ways we did before, where if I'm off balancing like this and then move to my X, I could do it like that. A good way that John Satava does it, and a lot of the Danaher guys do it, is they use their foot that's on the hip. So for instance, if Will pushes my hip down, it goes to the floor, and now I can kick him over so he balances off. So I can kick him up. Okay, there's a sofa there, but he usually goes to the floor or hands on the ground, okay? And now from here, he's off balance, his hands on the ground. I can immediately switch back to single leg, or I could go all the way to my X guard, okay? And that's what you'll see Satava do. He does a kick off the ground as he extends the ground. He does a kick off the ground to extend. So, sorry, we're like here. He peels, he kicks him off the ground, see his hands on the floor now. Now it's very easy for me to go immediately into X guard, or I could immediately, because his hands are on the floor, go to my Kani Basami's like before and go for leg locks, okay? In X guard in general, and when you're on bottom, when you're in X guard or when you're on bottom in general, you've always got to be thinking about them basing, you've always got to be off balancing them. If there's ever a point where they can think, okay, I can chill here, that's not good for you. You need to be constantly off balancing them, especially in X guard. X guard should not be a position where you're chilling in. You should be constantly trying to off balance them. So whether it be, look, for instance, if I'm in single leg X with Will and I'm just sitting here, and I think just my legs being pinched together is going to be enough to hold him, it's not. In some way, Will was going to be able to escape my grip at some point. No matter how strong my leg clamp is, he's going to be able to break it at some point. So I need to constantly be working to off balance him, especially in full X guard. Okay, so go into full X guard. So after going full X guard like this, I'm always working to either I'm either extending his legs out, I'm pushing him to put his hands on the floor, or I'm, instead of not necessarily always extending, I also want to be able to pull him in and over my shoulders. So that would be my legs coming in and pushing him over like this, which is how John Satava sweeps him in this engagement, okay? With X guard, some people always just think about extending their legs. You don't really want to be in a position where you're constantly extending your legs. For instance, if I fully extend my legs here, it's actually easy for Will to start stripping my legs and step over and start passing, okay? Think about it. You need to find the sweet spot where you can extend slightly, but also pull him in, okay? I want to be able to do both things. Now I can grab his second leg, start going for attacks on the other leg, or I can even just have my control of the second leg, so now he has no base points, so I can easily push him down and start standing up, okay? So don't think of it as just, I need to extend my legs out all the time. Think about it as you want to be able to create some kind of push and pull all the time, okay? So the sweep happens at the end. John Satava is basically doing an off balance over his head, and Satava bases on one hand, okay? If you're thinking about sweeping, okay, this also matches with if you're thinking about controlling a person, okay? Think of their body as a square, and you're constantly trying to knock it over one of those squares, okay? let me try and explain what I mean by that. Okay, so if Will is on his shoulder, sorry, on your back, sorry, yeah, onto the toe, sorry. If I'm trying to knock Will in different directions, okay, if I can go this way, you showing your arms. So, if I'm trying to knock Will off balance, I would never try and knock directly him into both of his legs, because he has both legs to base off of, okay? Same with, if I pushed him forwards here, he'd have both arms to stop him, okay? So I never go in one direction. It's the same if I push Will in this direction, he brings his hand and his leg up. Hand and leg up, yeah. It's very hard for me to push him in this direction, okay? So usually, I'm trying to pass him in a diagonal way, okay? I never want to be vertical or horizontal, because he'll always have two limbs to block himself with, okay? So say I took away his arm, but I still tried to pull him towards me, he can still base up on his leg now, okay? Because he has two legs there. Where if I took away his arm in this position and then bring him directly over his shoulder, he's always going to go there, okay? Or he's going to be able to fall over there. So think of it is you're always trying to knock them off a direction when you're trying to sweep them. And that's what happened in this sweep. John Satava's bringing him over his shoulder. He's also got control of both of his legs. So Satava can no longer base out with his arms, without his legs, sorry, because he's got the X guard on his legs. And he's basically getting all of the weight pushed over his arm. It doesn't even matter his arm's up at this point, because all of his weight's going over that direction, okay? Same with butterfly sweeps. If you watch good butterfly sweeps, or when you're thinking about them in general, don't think you're trying to turn them off to the side. Think as if you're trying to throw them over your shoulder in a direction, okay? Everything's a lot easier when you work in this form of, you're trying to go from these diagonal angles instead of these straight angles, okay? It's the same way I knock people off in close guard. You see in close guard when you're trying to hold someone, you're trying to break their posture, for instance, okay? If I'm trying to break Will's posture here, I won't usually go directly in one direction. It's actually easy for me to make like a circle and make a directional, because it's harder for him to bring up. Now, see, I made him a directional. It's also given me opportunities now to come from one side and stop looking for the back and stuff. Okay, so instead of pulling him directly onto me like this, I move my legs towards his shoulder and then up towards me like this. Okay, and it usually makes him base in a different direction. Okay, for me this is a useful thing, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing when I'm trying to control someone. So if you're on the side, it's the same thing when I'm trying to control someone. Okay, you'll see this with John Satava later on, which I'm going to carry on with. Okay, think about the body as a square, and I want to control two diagonals. Okay, what I mean by that is, say I have side control and I'm just controlling both of his shoulders. Yeah, I have a really high side control. I'm just controlling both of his shoulders. If he bumps me now, okay, see, he can bump me very easily because he has control of both his hips. If I move my hips now next to his, I'm going to control more in a diagonal. I have control of this shoulder and this hip closest to me. If he tries to bump me now, he can't, because my body's over that hip. And vice versa, if I was in north-south and I've controlled, sorry, it's a bit bad on this camera. Can you understand? So, same way, it's a bit easy to understand in this position. If I'm in north-south and I'm controlling his shoulder and this hip in a diagonal, it's very hard for him to escape. Look, so my hips are controlling this shoulder and my head is going to control this hip. If he tries to move now in any way, it's pretty hard because I have control of the diagonal, okay? Where if I had control, for instance, of just both of his hips, it'd be easy for now for Will to push off me and get out, okay? And it's the same thing as if I had the same side hip and shoulder, which is like, say I had like a judo control like this. I'm controlling this shoulder, sorry, and maybe if I bring my body over to this hip, doesn't matter, I don't have control of the diagonal, very easy for him to push me over and get out, and maybe you can take my back, okay? So think about that idea of the box and the diagonals is very important. That's what usually I'm thinking about when I'm sweeping or when I'm controlling, especially in controlling. That's very, very important. I'm constantly thinking about controlling on the diagonal, okay? I went off on a bit of a rant there, but a useful rant nonetheless, okay? You should be trying to think conceptually about stuff in general. This is how you can come up with your own stuff and just have whatever you want to add to your game in general, you're trying to add something new to your game, you should always have your own set of rules. So say there's a technique that you don't necessarily think works. If you apply your own rules to it, your own conceptual rules, usually you can either make them work, and if they don't work, they're probably not going to work in the first place. So yeah, like when I'm thinking of a sweep now, I'm usually thinking, okay, how does it allow me to off balance them? How does it allow me to knock them off into one direction, and all this different stuff? Okay, yeah. All right, let's move on to the passing sequences now. All right. Okay, so now he immediately starts in smashed out half, which is an excellent position, okay? And in a way, this is showing the idea of diagonal control, okay? John Satava's hips are controlling this Satava's near side hip, and his underhook is controlling Stanley Rosa's far side shoulder, which makes it basically impossible for him to bump or move in different directions. You see, it's very hard for Satava to do a lot of stuff here. He has lockdown, or what Henzo Gracie students call scorpion. So this position, scorpion. This allows you to extend the person out and hold them close to you, okay? Which is a good position. You can sweep from it, you can move to a lot of different positions. Gary uses this. This is like obviously what 10 planet people are usually known for, lockdown. John Satava basically destroys it by having good control in the first place. Okay, he has an underhook, making it very hard for Satava, for Stanley Rosa to do a lot of stuff. Okay, so look, he's going to free his knee. His main goal now, he has an underhook and control the head. His main goal now is to get his knee out of this position. So you see how he gets his knee out of position now? And now all he needs to free is his foot, and then he's out of the position, okay? So he's working. He has very good control here. He can chill here. He's in a very, very good position to slow the match pace down. Now he's out, okay? Stanley Rosa now does something smart to try and stop that, okay? He brings, you see how he's brung his free arm that wasn't underhook? He's brung his free arm now to his far hip, which allows him to ghost escape. We call ghost escape. I'm going to show you in a second, okay? He can begin to unravel and roll out now, yeah? But John Satava follows that hand and makes it impossible. Okay, he follows that hand to make that escape impossible. Danny Rosa realizes now his hand's too pinned to his hip, and John Satava switches to a scoop grip, making that underhook grip that Satava has useless, can't do anything with it. Okay, when he was bringing his hips over, he was just slowing it down, making it hard for him to use. And then as soon as he got that scoop grip on the near side leg, it made it impossible. He could no longer turn in towards him. Okay. Now, as he turns around to start working to his knees, Satava's going to put a hook in. So as he works to his knees, he puts a hook in. That is one of the best times for you to get attack to put hooks in, straight up, okay? So usually you can work slowly to get them in. If you want to slide them in like Satava just did then, it's usually best in transition, okay? Which is exactly what Satava did, okay? And now he's working towards the back, okay? But let's go over just a bit, those little bits there, okay? I might not be able to finish the whole match today because man just talked the whole time. But let me let me go over this quickly, okay? So, just in general, okay? Okay, so he had position. As soon as he swept him, he immediately tried to beat this knee. Okay, this knee can be important for. If Will kept his knee in here, it would give him some chance to bring his other knee in, and we'd be in a disadvantage. Okay. He immediately gets his leg over this knee and works to get an underhook, which I call smashed out half guard, okay? If Will had an underhook on me now, he has a lot of options, okay? When I get an underhook, I have much more options, okay? Stanley Rosa from here, if he managed to get an underhook and that lockdown like you were showing before, okay? If he had the lockdown here, it would have been very easy for him to start sweeping and have complete control of me, okay? It became hard for him to do that because John Satava had the underhook. He basically can't. It's very hard for Will to come up to his elbow and have the underhook. Okay, I'm being nice. I'm letting him beat it up at the moment. But it'd be very hard if I had the underhook for him to come up. Okay, it's very hard for him to use any sweeps now. It's just a lot better for me to be able to get out. And all I need to do now is work to get my knee out of this control, which is easy. Satava's using his free leg to base on the top of his leg here to get it free. Okay, so he's here. He's bringing his leg far up and putting his See, I'm putting the sole of my foot on top of his leg, making it easy for him to my knee out. And now from here, it's very easy for me to put weight down on him, stop him from doing anything. If we had an underhook here, is one of Will's favourite sweeps. Okay, you see how his top leg has come over now and trapped my foot. Okay, this is a very strong sweeping position. He's also created a good wedge where if I try and pull my leg out really hard, it's very hard for me to pull my leg out. Yeah. So this is how close it is between getting swept and being in a strong position. It was just this underhook. Okay. From here he can sweep me if I don't have the underhook, and he has the underhook. But if I have the underhook, it basically makes the position null and void. So just use the sweep for instance. So from here he can easily sweep underneath, sweep on, and I was on top. Okay. And if I have the underhook here, even if he tries to do those same motions of sweeping me to one side, I still have very good control. And it makes it easy for me to stomp on his legs and pass and start working, okay? And then, sorry, what happened when he passed, you see how my underhook on this side? His free hand came to the underhook here. So his arm's under. If I don't address this, okay, and I come too high now, it's easy for him to extend this arm behind me, and now, keep it coming up. And now look, he can come up and start attacking. All right. The beauty of what John Sotava did in this position, as soon as he felt that happen, so as soon as he felt this near arm happen, okay, he brought his hand over, and now my hand here, that's not an underhook. My hand here, that's now an underhook, okay, switches to go off to his hip, okay. So first thing he does is his hand's quite high. He realizes his hand's here, so he slows it down by walking his legs to his hips. So I'm going to walk towards hips now. So is it harder for you to extend that arm now? Yeah. It's a lot harder for him to extend his arm now, yeah? And now from here, to make it completely obsolete, my hand that was now an underhook, I pass, so it doesn't matter, and my hips are controlling his shoulders. I can now move and bring my hand to his leg, making this arm useless. If you try and lift him with that arm now, you can't do anything with that arm now. And now what he does with this scoop grip of his leg, he makes him turn. Sorry. So I was here, he makes that scoop grip with his leg, Rosa decides, okay, I need to get out now, so he starts turning, and as he turns, Sotava puts his hook in and starts going attacking the back now, okay? So let's carry on with the rest of the match. So the good thing that John Sotava does in this position now is he's constantly threatening the choke while threatening putting the hooks in, okay? So it puts Stanley in a dilemma where he has to worry about clearing the hooks, and when he's clearing the hooks, he has to worry about getting choked. So he's constantly having to think about two things, and Sotava can very easily work between these two attacks. Okay, Stanley Rosa in this match shows good escaping of the hooks. People usually, when they get their back taken, they find it hard to start escaping fully, okay? Stanley in this match was pretty good at escaping hooks. He's constantly working to stop hooks running. Stanley here, Sotava here, sorry, uses his free leg behind the hamstring to stop Stanley from turning into him. Then Stanley sees this and turns away, which is easier when he doesn't have a hook in like that. And also the things I was showing when I was showing back control, John Sotava is slowly working to get grips here. Okay, all right, this is an interesting point here, I want to say. So he's constantly, you see how he's got cross grips here? Like I've been showing before? See how he's cross grips? This is useful. I've shown this before in the back control, the back control, one short back control. Okay. He rolls now, gets out the hooks, and look, Stanley does something smart now. You see how he's kicking his left leg over? So when he did this roll again. So as he rolls, look, he gets his hook out, and look, he's going to kick over. At the moment, John Sotava's got an underhook, but watch what happens. Is he goes for this leg. He has an opportunity to go for this leg. John Sotava predicts this and immediately escapes, okay? This is a good opportunity for Stanley to go for a leg lock. It was also good on the part of Sotava that he escaped early, okay? So what happened in that sequence? Let me show you quickly. So what happened in that sequence? So John Sotava, so if he had back control like this, okay, what happened was he managed to get enough weight on him and basically get his leg over the top here. You see from here, now it's easy for me to move. I can move directly into leg locks. We can move into the stuff last week. I can start passing, yeah? So we're back into that position. Or, like, so look how close it is. My legs are both inside, and as soon as my hips go above his hips and I throw my leg over, now I can immediately go into any legs. He was going for a double outside. As I fall off, as he fell down to start attacking the leg, immediately John Stava got his free leg into Stanley Rose's butt and started pushing out, so you immediately lost the knee line. If Stanley kept the knee line here, he would have had opportunities to start finishing a heel hook. Okay, there's a good counter to the back to push up into the person, create space, throw my leg over, and now look, I can immediately start attacking my legs. Okay, the Sadava was smart enough to anticipate and get out. Okay, so let's go back to the last, see if we can finish this before the end. So now, look, I was going to show this, but I don't have enough time. He immediately counters with a grip on his leg and comes up, stack passes, and immediately forces him to go back to his back here now. Okay. Now, when he's working from here, this is a good position. Don't just think of this as, okay, I need to get the back now. You can put them in a severe disadvantage just by trying to choke them from here. Yeah. So look, he has to worry about the hands getting choked, so John Stava easily gets his hooks in. Okay, he's working for that same escape he did before. John Stava's also working grips, hand fighting grips. You see him work for the cross grips here. So look, John Stava's going for those cross grips. So he's got double straights at the moment. Now he's working. So look, he's going to get it again, sorry. So he's got double straights. Look, he's trying to work his bottom arm to control that arm. He gets it, but then Stanley Rose turns to that side to make it hard for him to trap that arm. Okay. Keeps on getting hooks in. There's a fight from here, and look. Sorry, look. So look, he traps his arm at this point. Look, he gets a straight grip, traps his arm. Now it's it's one hand versus just Stanley Rose's neck. He fights to get under. Okay. He looks like he's going to get out because he hasn't kept back to spine. But look, this grip's so strong that he keeps it the whole time and chokes him. Okay, and that's why it's important to have a good one-handed choke, because from that position he kept hold of the choke the whole time during that sequence. Okay, so let me just show that one more time. So look, he fights to get the grip here, and he immediately works to get underneath the chin because it's just chin versus one arm. Okay, so he's controlling one hand with his arm and one hand with his leg, and the other hand is just on his neck. He has nothing to fight with. The only thing Stanley Rosa can do from here is spin, and he's too late. By the time he spins to get into a position to fight with his hands, he's already too late to get in choke. Okay, let me just go over two things quickly, if I can get it done quick before the end of this. Okay, so, right, let me show you. Okay, so the good thing in that sequence when he was double outside, okay, the good thing about that sequence, okay, so he's double outside like this, in that sequence where he gets out of his back, okay, he has his free legs, so my free legs here, you can see it underneath, he gets it in his butt to push off, okay, to get out. So now my leg is out. He immediately works to start passing by getting his free hand and getting a thigh grip, okay. If this is useful, I can start working for leg drags here, or thigh drags, some people call it. So all I need to do now is completely escape my leg. And now look, he can't turn into me now because I have my scoop grip. Okay? And I can just immediately go and start passing. Stanley Rossi was smart to bring his other leg into the equation. So close his leg over. Okay? And now I can immediately start going and start working for double unders. So he works for double unders. Okay? And he basically puts enough pressure in where Stanley backward rolls. There's a thing there, then he backwards rolls, and then immediately Satava works to get his back behind him to start working to start attacking the back. So now from here, I can work between Will has to worry now between me choking him and putting my hooks in. Okay, I can continue to work to choke him. If he's not fighting my hands, then he's going to get choked. And while he's fighting my hands, it's easy for me to throw my legs in and start looking for attacks. Okay, it's also easy for me to off balance him because he's fighting my grips. I can pull him to one side and I can work for my grips. Okay, I can force transitionary positions. So like I was saying before, when the guy's coming up to his knees, it's easy to throw a hook in. I can work that from turtle just by, if I'm here, I can off balance Will by pulling him off to his side and he goes down to his hip now. But immediately he doesn't want to stay here and let me put hooks in. He doesn't want to let me work from here, so he's going to come up to his knees again. And as he does that, I put my hook in. Okay, so I can start working stuff in transitions, and I can force those transitions just by, like we were talking before, just off balancing him, or Kazushi as Dana calls it. So I can constantly be off balancing him just to work for stuff. And then the other thing I was going to show was the straight hand fight. So then okay. So the finish itself, so the finish itself, okay, when they were hand fighting, okay, so the hand fight at the end there, when he got the grip of the legs, is he got double straights. So double straights is just my right hand's going to control his right hand, and my left hand's going to control his left hand. So Todd was flexible enough to throw his leg all the way over the shoulder, control, and bring down, and then just pin. And you just back heeling into his hip. And then from here, look, my legs controlling his arm, my other hand controlling his arm, and now I can immediately go to stop choking. See? It's very hard for him to fight. And what happened in this scenario is Stanley started trying to come to his knees, but even in this scenario, like as he's moving, he's getting choked the whole time. And at the end, you see him get out of these grips, but it's too late. He's already been getting choked for the last 5 seconds. And that's why it's important to have a good one-arm choke. If you've got a good one-arm choke, you're definitely going to have a good two-arm choke, okay? So I feel like if you want to have a nice technical finish or work on your finishes in the gym, this is what I try and do. Like, especially if it's like a newer person, I'm just trying to work my grips. I want to get as clean as a choke as possible. I don't want to just go, I don't just want to have none of this, just have my grips and just squeeze over his face. I want to do a nice technical way of controlling one of his arms, controlling his second arm, and as he's tucking his chin, I want to do the least violent way to just get my hand underneath and just get a nice slow choke. Okay, that's a good, and as soon as you have that, all of that nicely done, it's easy for you to start working, just going straight to the choke, getting good two-arm chokes and all this stuff. Okay? In the gym, you want to be going as most technical as possible, because there's always going to be a time where you're going to have to go against someone, like maybe there's a time when you have to go against someone who is bigger than you, and you've got to work to be able to, you're not going to just be able to squeeze the head off. You're going to have to work to get one of the hands out and control like that. Okay? Yeah, that was a 4-minute match, 30 minutes. So perfect for 40-minute class. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in those matches. Like, just so much different stuff can happen in seconds in a match. And I think that's a good showing. Like, I could probably even talk more about that match than I did in the last 40 minutes. But yeah, like high-level grapplers, like people like Ross, who you train with, and just people like other high-level grapplers in general, they're doing so much stuff in split seconds. And that's what you're trying to work towards when you're training. Being able to do those sequences just straight out the gate. Is there any questions, sorry?
No, actually, it was a really, really good lesson, actually, because yeah, just that sequence right from the beginning when you try to go for a single leg and then just dropping into the shin to shin, and yeah,
there's a good lot of stuff where necessarily, if you're not necessarily a wrestler, you can either use those wrestling exchanges to get yourself into a good position to start working, or you don't even necessarily, if you want to play a top position, you're not necessarily a good wrestler, you can work to sweep the guy and come on top. For instance, John Satava and people like Marcelo Garcia, they're not the best wrestlers technically, but they were very good. They were very good passers, and the way they got there was instead of wrestling to get on top, they swept to get on top, which is a good thing to be able to do. Trying to think of other stuff. Yeah, there's other matches where it shows good legs, like single legs into different sweeping sequences, like Roberto Jimenez versus Roosevelt. There's a really good sequence there. And also, the other thing I was going to say was last week you asked about Kani Basami. There's a very good video on online. I'm pretty sure it's still up there. But one of my friends from New York, One of my friends from, let me check if it's all up there. One of my friends from New York, Rob Deagle, has just a whole massive compilation of all of the Kani Basamis. Let me see if my computer's working. It's quite slow. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not up there.
That's all right.
There was a really, really good kind of Asami video, but I didn't delete it, unfortunately. Yeah. All right. I'll see you. No more questions, sorry?
No more questions.
Okay,
No.
cool. All right. I'll see you next Wednesday then.
See you then.
Right, mate.
Thanks, guys. All right, take care. Thanks for the lesson.
See ya.
Yes, bye.